If you like Nintendo and horror, boy, do I got a game for you. What does Pikmin, unresolved childhood trauma, and Final Fantasy have in common? Well, buckle in, neighbors. Today we get to learn about Konami's new psychological mind roller coaster that is Silent Hill F. Set in rural Japan in 1960s, you play as Hinako, a schoolgirl with, problems. What are those problems? Frankly, I don't have a clue. It would probably ruin the plot and you playing it, but what I can tell you is that the creative mind behind Silent Hill is none other than a mind that studied under, per his words, Big Boss Miyamoto, the man behind Mario. Yes, the current leader leading the Silent Hill franchise has his roots in Nintendo, and boy does it show. Let's rewind. The year is 2019 and Konami has realized Silent Hill is nowhere where it needs to be. After blunders like Silent Hill Homecoming and Downpour, Konami starts to realize something's not right. Well, this is where the current leader behind Silent Hill, Motoi Okamoto, steps in. The Silent Hill series had been dormant for quite a while. Konami as a company wanted to bring it back, and lots of people working here wanted to make Silent Hill games. The only thing was that everyone had different ideas of what Silent Hill is and why they loved it, making it difficult to get a single direction. Who is this Motoi Okamoto? Well, he got his start in 3D programming under a company that Nintendo worked with for their games that did a lot of under-the-hood stuff to make games run, like software. Before pivoting into game design, he was working on details like fur shading to be used in Star Fox. But when he realized Nintendo wasn't going the way of HD graphics to compete with the likes of Sony and Xbox, he was able to shift to game design and work under the Grand Master Miyamoto. And boy, were they hard workers. One of my favorite stories reading about Okamoto and Miyamoto was when they were working on 3DS games. In those days, Miyamoto would come to us at 11 p.m. after he finished all of his board member work and say, "It's Mario time." At that point, we'd start a planning meeting that would run until 2 a.m. At that point, Miyamoto would go home, leaving us with the words, "You should return home soon for your health." Over the next 2 or 3 hours, we'd write the game design documents and summarize the instructions for our artists and programmers. Woo! Miyamoto is a beast. I am getting off track here. I am supposed to be talking about a psychological horror, and yet I am talking about the man behind Mario. Anywho, Okamoto's first game officially under Nintendo? Pikmin. In this interview, you could tell Okamoto revered both Hiroshi Yamauchi, who transformed Nintendo from a small Japanese playing card manufacturer into a global video game and entertainment powerhouse, and Miyamoto, the man behind Mario and Zelda. He recognized their excellence and what they contributed for gaming, and he would implement their strategies as he grew as a game designer, especially as he started leading the Silent Hill franchise. Okamoto recounted how Miyamoto had the weight of Nintendo on his shoulders. He was tasked with creating home run after home run, which, let's be honest, he kinda did. And one of his design philosophies was conflict. Pikmin was a game that reflected the big boss's conflicts about where his game designs should go. You lead 100 Pikmin to solve a puzzle-like level in a beautiful natural environment with a 30-day time limit. It's a very unique type of gaming experience, but on the other hand, the gameplay feels classic. That's the idea. And when developing Pikmin, Miyamoto said the next Mario is Pikmin. And yes, Big Boss is not Big Boss as in Snake, but Big Boss Miyamoto. Respect. This inherent struggle and paradox of conflict in games will be seen later in Okamoto's work in Silent Hill F and the series as a whole. I would like to touch on one last thing before I switch to how this relates to Silent Hill. I just mentioned how Okamoto revered Miyamoto, but I also mentioned he revered Hiroshi Yamauchi, the president of Nintendo who led it during the NES and Game Boy era. Okamoto talks about Yamauchi here. Yamauchi wanted his vassals to compete with each other. Nintendo once had 3 hardware development departments plus EAD. Each of these 3 departments had its own game development team, and Yamauchi made the leaders of these departments compete with each other. This resulted in successes like the Nintendo Entertainment System and Game Boy. So how does the design philosophies of both one of the presidents of Nintendo and Mario's creator, Miyamoto, relate to Silent Hill? Well, let's dive in. Do you know that Silent Hill is traditionally a Japanese game? Yeah, it was a surprise for me too. The original 4 Silent Hills were not made by an American team, despite the setting of a real American town. The originals were created under Team Silent, a Japanese team. It wasn't until the original 4 Silent Hill games that Konami wanted to westernize Silent Hill, and then came the downfall of the series. I don't need to go into the details, but Silent Hill wasn't really winning any awards after disbanding Team Silent. It wasn't until Kojima's Silent Hills that people were interested in the series again. Well, fast forward to Okamoto's working with Konami. I joined Konami during this time and was asked if I could make something work. I agreed to bring everything together and took charge of the project, eventually getting everyone to go in the same direction. And that he did. His first goal? Bring Silent Hill back to their Japanese roots.
最初の質問です。ズバリ、なぜ日本を舞台にした作品を開発しようと考えたんでしょうか。岡本さんお願いします。
はい。サイレントヒルは和風ホラーのエッセンスと西洋ホラーのエッセンスを融合して生み出されてきた作品だと思います。ただシリーズは長らく西洋を舞台にしてきたんですけど、日本的なエッセンスが徐々に失われていったっていうふうに感じていまして、そこで逆に和風ホラーのエッセンスを 100% にした作品を作ってみたいという気持ちが生まれてきたんです。
ということは山岡さん、そのエッセンスが失われてきたというのが一つのチャンスになったから、もう今回は日本にしようという流れが話あったということでいいんですかね。
岡本さんそうですよね。
そうですね。
今エッセンスって本当そうで、これが実はサイレントヒルらしさじゃないですけど、一つのポイントにもなってて、西洋を舞台にしながらも日本のエッセンスっていうなかなかなんですかね、なかなかもう個性的なというか、これが個性にもなってると思うんで、今回そのザはっていうところはまたちょっと今までのサイレントヒルとは違うけど新しい作品なのかなと思います。
And that's he did. Instead of the typical American tropes of how to scare people, which normally is just, big chainsaws and fears, Japanese horror is much more nuanced. Literally, there appears to be a philosophy of conflict. Beauty through horror.
としてきたこの過去シリーズの作品とは違って、今回はこの日本が舞台であり和を特徴としたサイレントヒル F ですが、まずは改めて本作品のコンセプトを教えてください。
はい、本作品のコンセプトは美しいがゆえにおぞましい。サイレントヒルシリーズの核であるサイコロジカルホラーとしての要素は残しつつも、従来の作品から一転して日本を舞台にし、和のテイストを前面に押し出した挑戦的な作品となります。日本のホラーの一つの特徴は美しさの中におぞましさが宿っていることです。美しいものは美しすぎるがゆえにとてつもなく恐ろしいものでもあります。
Before we continue, if you are enjoying this video, could you help me by liking and subscribing? It really helps the channel grow. Silent Hill, when you get to the heart of it, are people battling their inner demons and winning. To not be bound by one's past, but how to move past it. Even when it is difficult to realize to grow, one must accept their past. And humans aren't just one emotion. Fear can be present, but we go through so much more like love, sadness, and grief. That almost sounds like conflict. At first, psychological and paranormal fears come together harmoniously. But as you play and think about it, you gradually begin to see what the story is all about. This story is not all about fear. Depending on how you look at it, it can also be a story of sadness or love. The idea of Silent Hill is not just to be helpless. Usually the game starts like that. But it's realizing you have the power to steer your future. Silent Hill F is about that. Hinako has some childhood trauma, and part of the story is her overcoming that grief, pain, and sadness. Conflict in game design, quite beautiful with how Okamoto has woven that through. Just because this is cool and to drive the point home, I wanted to share one more example of conflict of that from the original composer of Silent Hill and how he talks about the sound design of Silent Hill F.
山岡さん、美しさとおぞましさを表現するためにやっぱりここ我々音楽でやっぱりもう身の毛もよだつ瞬間いっぱいあると思います。こだわりのポイントよかったら教えてください。
ゲームの音楽って美しさとおぞましさってあった時に、美しい音楽、おぞましい音楽って作ってもゲームの中ではあまり効果的じゃないというか、僕は思うんですね。ゲームっていうのはその映像があって遊ぶ人がコントローラーを握って音を聞くと、その全部三位一体じゃないですけど、そこが合わさった時にどう感じるかってことなんで、例えばおぞましい時に美しい音楽、なんか綺麗なシーンでおぞましい、音楽じゃない、なんかそういう逆もありで、なんかゲームってどこで何を表現するかっていう、そうインタラクティブなものなので、そこは注力したというか、それは僕がずっとゲーム音楽というかゲームのサウンドデザインをやるときにすごく大事にしてるポイントというか、単にいい音楽とか、単に綺麗な音楽とか、怖い音楽を作るんじゃなくて、 ゲームとしてどこでどうなるんだ。
But what about the design philosophies of Yamauchi, the former president of Nintendo? Well, Okamoto wasn't as brutal as Yamauchi in pitting people against each other without sharing information. Okamoto also did not throw the baby out with the bathwater. He clearly realized having different teams can create a better finished project as a whole. In the micro for Silent Hill F, he actually has different composers for the Fog World and the Other World. But in the macro, he also applied this philosophy to the whole Silent Hill franchise. You see, if you don't know, Silent Hill F isn't alone. When Okamoto took on the series, the goal was expanding Silent Hill as a whole franchise. When talking about explaining the franchise, he had this to say: "There's only so much we can do ourselves, which means we need to work with lots of different indie creators if we want to make lots of different Silent Hills. That's why we made moves to work together with people around the world who want to make Silent Hill games." Okamoto wanted other studios to be able to do their own spin on the Silent Hill franchise. And hey, he's even open for pitches. Hey everyone, bring us your Silent Hill projects. We can do that now, so if creators from around the world who love Silent Hill bring us their pitches, I promise to look through every one of them. We're all ears. Neobards, the same studio who worked on Final Fantasy Rebirth, are the ones behind the Silent Hill F project. Bloober is the team behind the recent Silent Hill 2 remake, and they recently made the new Chronos game. Silent Hill: The Short Message was made by an internal Konami team. Silent Hill Townfall is being made by No Code. The dude is opening up the Silent Hill franchise to multiple teams. He is, I believe, taking the good parts of Yamauchi design philosophies of having different teams compete and is using that in a productive way to grow the whole franchise. I never thought the great minds of Nintendo would trickle into the Silent Hill franchise. Well, the more you know. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, if you could help me out by liking and subscribing, that would mean a lot. I hope you all are having a great week. I'll see you next week. And don't forget to